Hi, I'm Brandon Saffa, and I want to welcome you to the Variety Sports Network. We're so honored to be bringing you a place for the best sports content creators out there today. From football to baseball, hockey, to just a wide array of sports talk, we have everything you can ask for in one place. So we just want to say thank you for coming by and enjoy the show. This is a Variety Sports Network production. Now to your host.
And we are live here. Welcome to the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, episode 135 here on a special Sunday, Mother's Day edition here. I got my guys here, the usual Tyler McGuirk with me and my brother Casey Briare with me. We're here to go over a lot. Go over the Warriors, Lakers, tough game. We go over a little bit of little baseball news, a little hockey news. We'll touch on a big what do you say? I'd say a Bay Area icon. We'll touch on him a little bit as well. Passing away this week, so we got a lot to get into this week on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. But would be remiss. Tyler McGuirk, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I had a rough last couple of days. Been busy. Son getting sick and whatnot. And the Warriors losing. But outside of that, I'm doing well. I'm glad to see Casey on the podcast again. It's good to have the three of us together.
We did the Thursday night one, or whatever that was, Wednesday night, I think it was. But that was the first time we had done it in a while, and that was kind of a shorter one. So it's good to have the three of us back together here for on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Case, how you doing this morning?
Doing good, man. Glorious day, Mother's Day. I'm gonna have you guys over and get some good grub today. Say nothing but good things to Mama. Because
you're not cooking, are you?
What's Robert got on the grill today?
Yeah.
My mom, she's probably cooking, right? She's probably cooking herself for it.
All the cooking, man. No.
For her own Mother's Day, she's gonna probably do that. Hey, just like my mom does, she supports us with the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast merch. Be sure to get that as well for your mother on Mother's Day, Tyler. Hopefully you got that for Connie. I'm sure she would really enjoy that. Anybody else out there, I'm sure there would be a gift that would just bring a delightful smile to your mother's face and probably a what the hell's going on, right? If that's the case, and definitely don't tell her to be a fatty. Don't tell her that slogan. That's not something you want to say to your mother today on Mother's Day. So definitely over there. But Tyler, with that said, I think we'd have to be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to our mothers here a little bit. We got to start with your mom, Connie. It's funny, since we've known each other so long, right? I was thinking about that because that guy John from Out of Your Falcon Mind podcast was like, "Are you guys actually brothers?" I was like, "No, we're not actually brothers," but I didn't want to go into a Twitter discussion of how long. So I was like, "Gotta get." You write something, you just delete it, and then you don't go back to it. That's basically what I did. And but I was thinking I would say when I was 7. It's probably when 6 or 7 is when I remember your mom. Maybe just because when Casey and you became friends, but also when I played with your brother and your dad coached me younger. So one of my greatest memories, I always love it, was with your mom. I don't know how she was able to pull it off, but she drove the van through that bridge at Rincon Valley. It was able to make it over the bridge. It was able to watch the game from the third base there. I was always impressed with that. I just remember being at second base, and I was like, "Your mother, I love the aggressiveness right there." That's like one of my favorite. Your mom's like, "I love your mom. Your mom was a good just some of those memories with it."
Yeah, so she's great. I mean, happy Mother's Day, Connie, Mom. I love you. I'm proud of you. You quit smoking, quit drinking, all in the last 10 years. She's as healthy as she's ever been.
Awesome.
And it's good to see. I love my mom. She takes care of me still to this day in certain aspects of my life. So thank you, Mom. Have a great day. I'll see you later today.
Well, that's what they always do. They always take care of you the rest of your
Exactly.
kids. I know our mom, but she'll like today, she'll do the same thing. Like I said, on Mother's Day, I wouldn't be surprised if she was cooking for us. So, yeah.
I'd be remiss too. I mean, Connie, Tyler's mom, she was like my second mom for a long time. She used to introduce me to things I'd never tried, like coleslaw and like pot stickers that were actually fried, not boiled. Like,
what was the other one you said that they ate? Stovetop? Is that what it was?
He loved helper. He loved
hamburger helper. That's what it was.
Tyler,
come over and just eat the white bread.
I know. That's the best. It'd be like, stop eating our damn bread. But yeah, no, we had some good times. She always I don't know, she always made life good, and I don't know how they somehow would always carpool us around to all these games. And I mean, it's ridiculous how, now that we're grown adults and grown men, you figure out, man, I don't know how you find that much time in a day to do the things that they did for us. So shout out to the moms today, and they hold the fort down, and they do miraculous things. They make miracles out of nothing. So
for sure, we've obviously shout out to our mom there with it. Like just does everything for us, like Casey says. Just keeps us motivated by running 13 miles at times where I can barely do 2, things like that. Try to rub it in my face at 66 years old. Just trying to rub it right in my face. Just shout out to my mom. Just appreciate everything she's done for us. Obviously, shout out to Hannah too. My wife, she's been everything for my kids. Obviously with Derek's situation, when he was younger, her just having to spend so much time with him at those times too. So big shout out to Hannah as well. And just like you said, those are the things that as a dad you're not as sensitive to. I don't know, you know what I mean? There's certain things, right? Where right? You have to notice that, right, Tyler? Now, we are you could be sensitive, but just the overall nurture of a mother, to be able to be more emotional. I'm just get over it. What do we do?
Yeah, it's just a special thing they have in their DNA that don't have. Even with Emily and our son, it's different. We have different ways of looking at things. They have the nurturing aspect. We have the sort of rub some dirt on it, figure it out. And you look at our parents, my dad, your dad, they aren't they're not going to be the one who give you a hug to be it'll be okay.
My grandma shook my hand my whole life.
Exactly. There's no hugging. It's a different animal for moms and dads, and they deserve all the respect.
Yeah, I always recall the days that mom would for whatever reason would take off for a weekend or a couple days or a vacation, and dad would be like, "We're want nachos," and it's man, we're not having any vegetables, or we're not doing a 3-course meal, or we're just gonna have a shepherd's pie, potatoes and meat ground. Not exactly what your mother's day or your mother's dish would be opposed to your dad's dish.
I remember always going to Sheila's house. Those were the ones there. But like I always said, to all the mothers out there, you always think about our grandparents as well on days like this, right? So you always appreciate them as well. So with that said, on a Mother's Day here on a Sunday, let's celebrate it with a little sports here. Dallas Braden Magic here. Can we throw a perfect game? Can we do a perfect podcast today? That's what we're on the line here. Can we do the Dallas Braden on a Mother's Day podcast, Tyler? So that's what we're looking to do. No, what wasn't perfect was the Warriors Lakers. Let's go there with my mom. She did a few post games with me. That was awesome that she came on the one with Xavier. It was great. But she came on there. That was good. And so it was
Jordan
awesome.
Poole sucks was the most memorable line of the whole.
I know. I need to definitely cut that one out more often. The Warriors fall in that final game, 122-101. We talked about that. Me and Casey a little bit there with it. Tyler, your thoughts with the Game 6 loss?
I mean, just pathetic. That nobody showed up. Curry ended up putting up decent numbers, but even his shot wasn't falling. Clay was just god-awful from the start. He couldn't make anything. I didn't think he was taking bad looks per se. I thought they were mostly open looks. He just didn't have it. 3 for 19 on the day, 2 for 12. Just terrible. Draymond seemed to have no energy. Looney was all right when he played. Wiggins, having the banged up ribs. You could see early LeBron banging into him, getting easy buckets at the rim. Was going to be a long day for him. I don't know.
What'd you make of Kerr's comments where he said, like, the whole year, I mean, he's saying, obviously, we think we can win a championship, but at the end of the day, right, like, that's not the – like, when they lose, what he ended up saying, he goes, we're not a championship team. You know what I mean? We just weren't there. We maxed out. So, obviously, he was just trying to put a good face on for the team there most of the year there. So, what do you think of his comment there with it? And then we'll go to Casey.
I mean, I think they believed they thought they were a championship team the whole year. Like, they could turn it on, and they just never could turn on the switch. And Kerr realized there was no switch to be flipped. I feel like he tried everything except for maybe playing Kuminga a little more, which I know Casey's been on him for. Yeah, they should have given him a shot. It wasn't working without him. But the roster wasn't there. They didn't have the big guy who could protect the rim. They didn't have another wing who could shoot well enough outside of I guess nobody in this series shot well. Clay was terrible. Curry shot the three ball terrible like this series. He was great in every other aspect.
Basically the same as LeBron percentage-wise.
Yeah, he just didn't have the three ball. Yeah, it was. I mean, the biggest thing for me is we wasted this year trading James Wiseman to get Gary Payton Jr. back. Why? That's my biggest takeaway from this year. Why the hell did we do this? Because going forward, there's going to be a lot of implications.
Well, Case, let's go to that because we talked about it. I noticed on our last podcast, and to Tyler's point to Wiseman, right? That kind of got, and you even commented on my post yesterday, Tyler, like, well, he would have found out in 5 minutes, like, you know what I mean? Like, so obviously you weren't thinking that positively about him, but in this type of series, I think just even 8 minutes, yes, with maybe committing 4 fouls would have been valuable at times like that. So, Case, what do you think to that point with the Warriors? Obviously, now with the big man issue they have, but going forward, can they even address it? Do they have the pieces to even get that?
I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, you know,
who is that?
There is no one right now. He's not on the roster. That was a big thing going forward when I was talking about that. Every year the Warriors have won the championship. They've had a big man, or at least, you know, decent, like McGee, Pachulia. You know, I mean, they're David Lee, you know, coming off the bench. I mean, it's just.
But they're not rim protectors out there.
Bogut, for sure.
Bogut, yeah. I mean, but there's always.
Just so easily.
That was a great deal.
I mean, you always have a 7-footer, though. I mean,
yeah, no, you had him there for sure.
Yeah, as much as they maybe didn't participate, but Bogut and McGee were actually really productive for him.
Do you think Wiseman, though, killed them not being there available this year? Do you think that was a mistake then at the end of the day to trade him? Or do you think
I do.
And now it looks like it.
I do in the long run. I mean, you gave up 5 second-round picks for Gary Payne. Don't get me wrong, GP2 played pretty well. I mean, as well as you'd expect him to do. It's just he's not 7 feet tall. I mean, Anthony Davis is a true 7-footer, 6'11". I mean, he could get whatever he wanted whenever he wanted if he chose to do so. There's just one game in particular where he just took the night off. But overall, going forward, they need to get a 7-footer. And that's the most disappointing thing, I think, about James Wiseman is that he just played so docile. It was kind of lackluster, frustration. I know Steve Kerr can be really particular on guys that he trusts and wants to play.
Got to run that dribble handoff.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Wiseman actually played well at spurts. Is just like what Tyler was saying. You know, the foul trouble. It's just he's young, but I mean, then again, look at Jordan Poole. I mean, he's fouling at an alarming rate. I mean, at one point,
Wiseman could easily get 0 points in 12 minutes
and 4 fouls. 0, 12, and 4. You're like, oh, that's not bad. No, 0 points, 12 minutes, and 4 fouls. Like, I don't know. It was very tough to watch.
Okay, so do you think we said this like Tyler, like Casey, and we talked about Kerr. You obviously were defending Kerr a lot. I do think, though, me and Casey touched on, I think this was maybe the only series I can really point to in Kerr's run, even though maybe it's the freshest on my mind, but I really was thinking about this where I felt like there was moments where maybe he wasn't out-coached necessarily, but he maybe out-coached himself in some regards. And so, you know, I don't know. I thought there was moments where, like the not Peyton moment in the fourth quarter was the weird one for me in that game 4. And there was a couple of ones early with Looney in the series.
He was sick though.
I know.
When you go 6
and then Poole, there was
from
moments
three
with Poole as well. But go ahead.
When you go 6-26 from three with their two best shooters and two of the top 5 shooters in the NBA, you're not going to win that game. I agree. GP should have been on Lonnie Walker. Was he outcoached? I think he pushed every button except for the Kuminga button, which I wish he did go to. He lost a series in the Western Conference playoffs. He's never done that before. So sure, you can point to this is the worst coach series he's had because they actually lost. He's never lost at this point in the playoffs before. It wasn't a great effort by Kerr. I would not give him he did great for sure. Yeah. He deserves some blame for this. All 4 of the main guys, Draymond, Clay, Steph, and less so Steph, and Kerr have to take some blame for what happened in this playoff series. They didn't play up to par.
So, Go ahead, Case.
I was going to say Game 6, I was probably the most disappointed in Kerr. The other games, Lonnie Walker, he gets hot. That's kind of a fluke. I mean, he really hasn't played much out all year, really. I mean, he played pretty much the first half of the season and then really didn't get any minutes. But Game 6 in particular, I think you had seen the proof was in the pudding, as Tyler likes to say. Jordan Poole, I think those minutes should have been just given to Moody because he was proving that he was reliable, consistent, was playing defense and knocking down some shots. So I think that's the one where he didn't. He needed to recognize this wasn't Poole. He just didn't have it going. You know, he just, like I said, he pulled a Ben Simmons. He lost confidence. He couldn't.
I like that comparison. You can throw that one out, the Ben Simmons Jr. one. I don't know what that one cracks me up, like the Ben Simmons Jr. just like that.
It was.
I get your comparison in your mind, but it sounds weird. It's
such completely different players that just both hit the shit.
He just fouled and took terrible shots and turned the ball over. It was like he wasn't getting any action. He looked slow. Like at one point when he went for a layup and got rejected, he looked like he jumped like an inch off the floor. It was like there's no explosiveness. It was, I don't know.
It feels like he's dribbling too hard all the time. Like every movement feels a little too much. It feels a little too much at moments there with it.
It looks like he plays with Vaseline on his hands. He never can hold on to the ball. It slips out of his hands regularly, and he can't shoot.
Tyler, what do you think of my Poole for 8 idea?
I would do that in a heartbeat. I take a big 7-footer. At least he's 7 feet, like we mentioned before. They are up. I don't know what the contract or what Ayton's contract is. I know it's a lot, but I would put a big guy next to Green who has. I mean, he's not the most skill, but he has some skill. He can hit a 12-footer and he can block a shot. We saw him help them go to the NBA Finals with Phoenix 3 years ago now, I believe.
All right, give me a yes or no. Does the big 3 come back? The main guys, Curry, Green, Thompson, do they all return next year? Tyler, yes or no?
It depends how much Draymond. I think they'll all be back. Yeah.
Casey?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. If they come back again, not saying that's a bad thing, just I don't know, not many teams keep the run going like that in professional sports. So will they keep it like the Spurs and through a bad year through what they would consider a bad year, even though they still finished in the top 8, whatever that means to you. But if they see what I mean, but like I'm sure it means nothing to Joseph Latham. I'm sure Joe's on the phone. We need to get somebody immediately for this team right now. We need to figure this out. We're selling out this arena. Get the ice capades in here. We need whatever it takes. So I just have a feeling he's not happy about it. So we'll see what happens there with the Warriors going to next year. I think they do bring it back as well. But I just, in my mind, though, it's just, I think maybe that's just fan part of me that wants that to happen in some regards. So could you imagine they got to do something else, though, to give the big 3 some life during the regular season? Because we got to admit, like, the first, 60 games, I don't think many of them care anymore about it.
I don't think the whole NBA cares about them unless
that's
you're
true.
A young team. If you're over 30 and you're in the regular, you don't care until after maybe the start of February, you start gearing up for the playoffs. If you're over 30, you just don't really care. It's just trying to make an all-NBA team and just get your numbers.
And I'm just saying, as we go on, Austin Reeves, I hope that you're flopping it. I mean, we're going to talk about that in a second, but my gosh, you and the Lakers, you're annoying me. What do you guys think of Denver and now LA? Who do you guys like in that series?
I mean, unfortunately, I actually like the Lakers, the way AD's playing, if he can stay healthy, and then LeBron, and then the way Schroeder played against the Warriors.
Yeah.
But I want the Nuggets. It's going to be a good series. It could go either way. I think I'm just thinking pessimistically because I want the Lakers to lose so bad, and I think LeBron's going to win again. It just hurts my heart.
I think Denver's too good. I think they're a complete team. They got a lot of guys in play. I don't really see. I mean, the Jokic Davis matchup is going to be interesting, just because Jokic is so skilled, and I mean Davis is too. But it's just that's a 2-time MVP going at it, right? I mean,
yeah.
Then you got Michael Porter Jr., probably LeBron James. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. is pretty damn good now. His shot from 3 looks great. Jamal Murray. I mean, the matchups are going to be – he's playing really well. And then off the bench, they got – it's funny, like guys like Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, like they're actually good veteran players. Yep. So it kind of reminds me of like when the Warriors had that like Sean Livingston, David West,
they're deep. No. Bench. And they even got that guy, Ryan Braun. His name's not Ryan Braun, but whatever.
It's Ryan Brown.
Makes it easier for me to remember. The left fielder for the Brewers makes it easier. He's playing basketball. I think it's a good matchup, though, overall, just from a strategic standpoint, because AD was able to hit his rebounding. He proved to me in that last series his offensive glass, and we'll be curious to see if he can put that much pressure on Jokic on that side of it and really make him play defense. What do you think of that, T?
I think Anthony Davis is a nightmare matchup offensive because you can get Jokic out of the lane. You can put him in space where Jokic isn't the quickest, most nimble of feet. But the Nuggets are deep, and they can run a lot of matchups at you with Aaron Gordon. And he can guard 1 through 5 almost, maybe not 5, but 1 through 4. It's going to be a great matchup. I think the Lakers just have a little bit more championship. They've been there. I just think that matters.
Man, I mean, you think about that matchup against the Warriors and what they were able to kind of push the Warriors to. The Nuggets have a little bit more to go at them, though. They have Aaron Gordon, who's a little, you know what I mean? Who's basically a Wiggins on defense in that regard. They have Porter Jr., who has a little bit more length. They actually have a big in Jokic. I forget who their other backup center they play once in a while, who's at least another body there. And then they have the guy that was with the Lakers, Caldwell Pope. I like him as a shooter for Denver and his defensive capabilities. But I think Murray is the difference, right? He has to be the difference in this series. To me, that's going to be the key. How good does he play in this series? Because I really want Denver to win. I don't want
me too. I'm with you on that.
I don't want the Lakers to win. Come on, Denver. Step up in that mile line. Run them out of the gym. I mean, they should have a home court advantage. I mean, both want to run. So, and Austin Reeves, my gosh, somebody with them. All right, what do you guys think?
The whistle at Staples Center is just a crazy.
30-17.
Whatever happens there is insane.
Real quick here. Hey, so who do you got, Boston or Philly today?
Man, after Philadelphia choked that one away, it was so weird. But I mean, each team's won on the other team's home court the last 2 games. Man, Boston, I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum coming basically shooting 1 for 14 that just goes off in the fourth quarter. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
4 for 6 to close the game on threes. Oh, man, I kind of want Philadelphia to win just because I am an Embiid fan, but I don't like Harden, so I'm kind of mixed on emotions there. But Boston lost against the Warriors in Game 6 last year. It'd be rough to lose 2 years in a row at your home court in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Boston on this one.
Tyler, based on the show you were on this Wednesday, I'm guessing you're going Philly, but let's see what you think.
No, I'm actually going back to Boston. I think Boston handles it. I thought Philly would be able to handle their home court. They couldn't. I think the wing defenders on the 76ers, their guards don't defend well enough. I think Tatum and Brown have big games, and I think they win pretty handily.
I think it'll be interesting. How many shots does Marcus Smart make? I feel like he just gets all the open looks, right? Like he does. Like he's always open. There's a reason, but he's always open. So I want to see. I always feel like it's a big thing. And that last 6 minutes of that game, I mean, Boston's defense on Philadelphia was just on point. They were basically just forcing every tough shot, and then even the threes Philadelphia were getting weren't like wide open at that point. So I thought they did a really good job the last 6 minutes, what they should there. What do you guys think of Monty Williams getting fired yesterday? A lot of people didn't think it was the right decision that the Suns let him go. He won Coach of the Year. Was it last year? Got him to the finals a couple of years ago against the Bucks. What do you guys think of Monty Williams getting fired, Case?
Anytime you get a performance like you did, like they did in Game 6, there's going to be someone that's got to go, and he was the one that had to go. I mean, I watched that game. That was a tough watch. I mean, there was no energy, no passion. Kevin Durant, that was the worst I'd ever seen him play basketball in my life. Devin Booker. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like the offense. I know Chris Paul was out, DeAndre Ayton was out for the last game, but I think they're kind of like the Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr. They have higher expectations and they need a different offense. It looks stagnant at times. It was just, kind of Booker isolation, Kevin Durant isolation, and make something happen, pick and rolls, and I think it was time. They just needed a different voice.
Tyler, I'm interested to get. Sorry,
I mean,
Tyler,
I don't mind that they didn't want Monty Williams going forward. Whatever, it's their decision. I wouldn't have fired him at that point. They traded their whole bench for Kevin Durant. Let's see what veterans you can bring. They didn't lose a regular season game when Durant was healthy and playing with Booker. I just felt Monty Williams should have been given a shot with the additions they can add in this offseason to fill out the roster. That to a full roster. This roster was very limited and had no bench.
The white guy was Lawrence?
Jock Lawndale. When Jock played, Jock Lawndale. Yeah, their roster wasn't up to snuff to win the whole championship. I thought Durant and Booker played excellent as opposed to you, but I thought Durant would play a lot better and could get through the series. But I don't mind the Monty Williams firing, but I would have held on to him for another year to see how, with the full roster, how they could have done.
I got to watch the game, but because for some reason I had some TV issue with the app, so I only could watch it from the above the rim angle, which is like how you play 2K too. But it was interesting to see because it's almost great because there's no announcers; it's just the crowd. And but you could see the way they were guarding Durant in that pick. When everybody was on him, he had nowhere to go. But Case, like you said, one of the worst games that you've seen him play just because of the shots. And they get down by 30, and I think he knew it was dead at that point too. So he kind of felt that. I think with Monty Williams, it felt like I'm not necessarily saying that you're wrong about him not getting another year, and that was a quick firing because I think sometimes in the NBA they just quickly get rid of coaches now and they don't let him play through things. And like we said, he just made the finals. He was Coach of the Year last year. So it's not like he's just the worst coach in the year 1 year later, right? Like he's not like that bad. But there was some weird energy there with the team. Maybe it was a Chris Paul thing with Ayton there with that. And then they had the two blowouts, right, in those games. The one last year against Dallas, like Casey said, and the one this year. So, and then they have the new owner. And I feel like that's the biggest reason, right? You get a new boss. He wants to pick his own coach. To me, that's the number one factor in this whole thing. I just think that's what it is. So I'd be curious if he takes a year off or if he gets a job right away.
It does seem like the new trend, kind of like Coach Bud. I mean,
it's funny they were in the finals together, huh?
I mean, the two finals coaches are fired. So
we talked about that last week with Lillard having an issue with that. All right, so those are kind of the NBA storylines. I did just find out here this morning before going on as well. Did you see that with Morant, Tyler? I guess he was caught up in the IG video with another. Possibly it looked like it looked like a banana or something like that. Like it didn't look like some sort of fake gun or something like that. So it looked like a real gun. So I don't know. I don't know what the situation. I haven't read much more into it than that. So I don't know. We'll see what goes on. I saw Savage had a great tweet about Bane and Jackson are the leaders of the team. It definitely seems like that with Memphis. So a lot of interesting things going on down there. How do they? I don't know how they keep getting in the news that just for for a small
stupidity at this. It's like, call it what it is. It's just stupid. Like, what do you like? We've talked about it before. You're throwing away millions and millions of dollars for what? To be a young boy? You want to be a rapper? I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make so. Hopefully that situation gets. We'll see what Memphis does. They got a lot of questions now to kind of deal with their situation. But good podcast always follows three the hard way. And let's be real, we fall right in Memphis, so they'll always have the good storylines with that, and probably have the most up to date information. So continue to follow them as well. Tyler, let's get to our question of the week here, brought to you by Row One Brand. Use the code VSN15. You'll get 15% off anything in the art gallery there. The question I saw this week, I thought was a good one, was what's your favorite record of all time, like in MLB history, NBA, or NFL? So like for me, my favorite record in Major League Baseball is the hitting streak, the 56 game, just because it seems so unbreakable. Number 2 would be the 7 no-hitters by Nolan Ryan. Like, I don't know, the home run used to be there, but it doesn't feel quite the same anymore. So those are the 2 that always stood out to me, that like 56, like how do you get like that? I mean, even for 1941, just like that's crazy. And then I think Pete Rose is like next with 44. He's still like 12 behind. So that's how cool that record is. And then 7 no-hitters. Those are the ones in baseball that stand out. You got one in that baseball and the other sports as well?
Just to touch on the one you mentioned, 56. The best part about it is the drama that it brings to baseball when someone gets on a long hitting streak. Like, it's lead Sports Center at once you get to like 30 plus. Yeah, that's a great one. I don't think there's like it's like just like hitting 400 for a season would be like just unbelievable in baseball. The drama the last month, if someone was around 400, or like that's where I go with it. Like 73 home runs obviously hold a special place in my heart, but I don't see that get in touch with the new rules set in place. So yeah, those are the 2. Like if someone could hit 400 in one season, I think that'd be special.
Case, you got one?
Yeah, I was gonna say 400 too, but I mean nowadays it's like almost the opposite. Like if someone could hit under 200, I mean,
you did it. You did it. 197.
All the
strikeouts.
That's much. You did it. You played 162 games and batted 199. Who was the guy for the Reds? He played on my fantasy team one year. Greg Vaughn. I think he batted like 201 and hit like 42. That's funny.
I would say, the no-hitters, perfect games, the stolen base record, which will never be touched.
That never.
I mean, it's coming back around now with the new rules, but I don't see anyone even coming close to Ricky Henderson.
Do you think anybody could break his season record?
Man, well, doesn't Tim Raines hold the record, or could I be wrong?
I think
is it? Because I know Raines had like 130 something maybe, but I know Ricky's my favorite. I mean, 939 was the special number to get, break the Lou Brock record for all time. So
no doubt. We got Gary. We got Gary here too. The NBA. He's got NBA anything. Wilt Chamberlain. It's crazy all the records he holds. Thanks for tuning in here this morning. Here, I agree with them. If we're going to touch NBA for a second, that's a record as well. Go ahead, T. Your thoughts?
Isn't it funny how like we go to records and it always goes to baseball? Like it's like those are the records people care or like big stats that people care about, like for single season and career. Like NBA, it's about like more eye test.
What is the? I was thinking about that this morning. Like, okay, like that's why I said with baseball, like there's immediate record, like 400 to you. It came to your mind. Like for NBA, like what's the one that comes like immediate? Like, oh, I'm thinking of. No, but I don't know that number. Like, oh, that record's cool, but I don't know that number. Like, they're really that's where it's harder with that sport. Did you have it with the NFL?
NFL, like career yards, passing
yards.
That? No, I don't know any of those. I might know some singles.
I was like, wow, impressive.
Like Jerry Rice has 22 touchdowns receiving in the season. I know that's a record. No, Randy Moss broke it with 23. Excuse me. I don't know. Yeah, it's just wild. The one
I know for NFL is Rice 208 touchdowns.
What was that?
Is Rice's 208 touchdowns. That's the one I know for the NFL. Like it sticks out to me as like that's just an all-time record that I don't think will be broken. For the NBA, I was trying to think like, okay, what's the one like I said, assists. I think that's the best record, but I don't know exactly what the total is off the top of my head. I know it's like something crazy, but the one number I do know, and this guy, and we brought it up, Gary just brought it, Wilt Chamberlain, right? the 100 points, right? That's the one point you know right away. You know that's the record. But I would say for our lifetime, the next one down is the one I remember just because it happened is 81 that Kobe got it. I don't give Kobe much credit on this podcast, but you get my, like, that's the record I know. Like, I know that stat. I know 81 points. And so that's the one that initially came to me.
I always think of the 37-point quarter by Clay.
That's a good point, too. Ray said 22 points. Yeah, no case. That's a good one, too, the quarter. And I think he would have got it that one game. What do you have, 60 and 3? He could have got, remember, people thought he could have got 81 in that game as well. But Kerr took him out because he didn't want to rub it in the Pacers.
But like Tyler was saying about about Wayne Gretzky. I mean, 92 goals in a season. I mean, that was in 1981. But I mean, and then my favorite one. How many goals did you say he had? 92. No, in one season. Yeah. That just seems a lot.
That's a lot of points.
Play some defense. Play some defense. Come on, dude. That's insane.
Then the other one I looked up just out of curiosity for like NFL was most interceptions thrown in a game. Jim Hardy from the Chicago Cardinals in 1950 threw 8, and then Ty Detmer came close in 2001 with 7.
I think I've done that Madden once or twice.
They have middle linebackers on the slant.
That was like Tyler, the first time we got one of the new Madden games in 2000. There were like 6 interceptions in the first quarter. You're like, I quit. This game sucks.
I do want to point out that, like Gary said, 22 and 14. That is impressive. Right, Moss had 16 there, so he did have 14 minutes. So, like I said, Row One brand, use that code VSN15. They got watches now, 2 people, so use that code VSN20. You get 20% off something for the watches there. So we got, like I said, that was kind of a fun question I thought with records. It is funny that our minds did immediately go to baseball with that. So, like I said, I got Joe DiMaggio's history for NFL. I got Rice's 208 touchdowns for the NBA. Kobe's 81. Those are the ones that immediately just come to my mind right away if I had to think of those 3 sports. I actually know the stat. Like that's the important part that I know.
I know Will average 50 and 25 in the season, like for one whole season, which is just unbelievable. Like 50 and 25. Could you imagine someone
doing that today? Against 7th graders? Right.
No, I don't think I could.
I don't even know if I can do that now against Sarah. That's impressive right there. All right, so that's our question of the week there, Row One brand. I always like that little segment there we do with our questions out there. So appreciate you, Gary, tuning in with those, leaving your comments there with it. That always makes it a little bit more enjoyable here with it. All right, let's do our bonanza part here. We'll kind of finish it out and get to our winners and losers of the week here on our Mother's Day edition here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Also look for us at Variety Sports Network. All right, gentlemen. We kind of got into a little bit earlier with Big Austin, not Stone Cold Austin Reeves, that is, people. Should the NBA have a flop rule? Has it gotten out of control? It definitely came to the forefront this week with Stephen Kerr and his comments against the Lakers. Part of his quotes were, "I want to see the league get better." You know, that was pretty of his basic points with it. He also went into basically how the Lakers in Game 4, they sold a lot of calls in that game, which he felt like they did better. Brought LeBron to where he said his teams have never been known for flopping. That made a lot of people laugh along the way as well. But he did say that FIBA does have a rule in place where if the refs deem it basically it's a technical foul, and then if you get 2, you're ejected for it. You know what I mean? So the NBA, I'm just afraid is letting it get out of control again. I'm not saying the NBA feels like always wants to kind of be like the soccer league, Premier League. It feels like they want to get to that kind of level in some regards. And I don't know. I think they got to do something about it. I think it's a big issue. I'm interested to get your guys' takes on it here real quick. Tyler, your thoughts on the flopping rule?
I mean, I remember when Memphis was playing LA in the first series of this playoffs, and they were complaining about the flopping and all the calls. And I was like, get over it. It's not that bad. It can't be that bad. And then watching this series with the Warriors, being a Warriors fan, I'm like, my God, they had every right to complain about these guys. It's not the flopping. It's the after getting hit, just overselling things and like holding their heads for 10 minutes and then running down and shooting a 3-pointer like they're fine. It's the overselling. They need to do something. I don't know what you do. I mean, it's just on the refs to not call it. And like, it's hard. And then maybe the NBA can review every play that is like questionable and just send out fines. If you're fining people after every game for flops, that's how you're going to hit them where it hurts. Hit them in the wallet.
They were doing that at the beginning. I remember they were talking about it last game. Whatever happened to the games there, it even the flopping even went into the stands last week with the owner getting the ball and flopping, and then Jokic flopping after Durant there. Hey, should there be a rule where there's a technical foul for flopping?
Yeah, I think so. And I was thinking about this. I think basketball is becoming a lot like soccer.
Yeah.
Flopping. The only thing is 2 points aren't going to kill you. If you get a goal, that's a big difference. But soccer gives out a yellow card, a warning, which is basically, a tech. And the NBA's done a good job with the take foul, not allowing that no more for the, transition and the fluidity of the game. But the flopping, I mean, Dennis Schroeder was out of control the last game against the Warriors. Everything I'm glad they threw him out. I know maybe he wasn't warranted, but after all the crap he was doing the whole game, it wasn't even fun to watch. Austin Reeves, it was just, I mean, it's not just the Lakers in particular. I mean, it's all around the NBA, and it's just like Tyler was saying, the embellishment of the calls. Like, when you get hurt or hit, yeah, but you don't have to sell it to that extreme.
That's
point.
the problem I'm having with it. If I always say this, if you're playing on asphalt, you would not be falling down this easy. Like, that's kind of my point. Is like, you have to fall down on every little hit. Like, some of Embiid's were hilarious. They saw like a couple of hits. I think Gary, though, with his comment here, if I just bring it up real quick here again, is it's got it out of control. USA had problems playing FIBA last year because the players kept looking for calls instead of playing through it. And sometimes that's what's happening with it. Tyler, your last thoughts here on the possible giving players technicals for it.
I'm off. I do something. Casey, you're right. It isn't just the Lakers, but when you have a whole team of them, it just makes it like just this constant. And they're getting calls too, which is like most embarrassing. Like where
they get rewarded for it.
Yeah, exactly. And they, especially at home, they're 6-0 at home, I believe, at this point, and they've outshot every team by like double digits every game at home. I don't know. It's hard to watch.
I think you made a good. I think it was you, but you said about when they fall down, right? It's like every time now, it's like, let's go to the review. Like, that's the thing. Like, we don't have to do that. Like, can I always go back to 1984? Curtis Rambis, come on, they got in a fight.
I don't think we need to go back that far where that's okay though. Like, Dante DiVincenzo got whacked on the head going.
I know he should have died. He should have fell down.
He should have flailed and been like, oh.
That's my point. If you overdo that and they have to stop the game, and you're rolling around like that, then they're going to look at the camera, they're going to go to the tape and waste 20 minutes of our time. So that's the part I'm getting annoyed.
Well, we would have got 2 more free throws.
Yeah, that's the part. He probably would have missed it based on last week. That's the part. Case, NFL schedule was released this week. I'm always blown away how the NFL always makes something out of nothing. The NFL schedule, it always becomes a big deal. They have a show with it. They have these leaks during the week about games that are coming out, Tyler. And then this week, I kind of something that stood out to me about it was the games now. There's 5 games now internationally, 3 in England, 2 in Germany. My question is, could you ever see a Super Bowl being played overseas?
Never.
I don't think they'll do that. I think there's just too much media here. It'd be a big hassle. Maybe in like 30 years. I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
In our lifetime, will it happen, you think? In our lifetime, could you? Okay, let's say we live another 40
no.
Let's give ourselves 40 more.
I'll take 40 more. I'm gonna count my blessings. I don't think it'll happen. I don't see why they would move it overseas. I don't think it would get them any more money other than maybe more exposure, but I don't see it happening.
I can't see.
And the weather sucks overseas in January, so in February.
Yeah, but they got domes.
I just can't imagine seeing like Joe Buck being like, "Welcome to the pitch." Like, we're over here at the pond.
We're at Tottenham Stadium there. I just think I just got to find it interesting. The Jaguars got 2 games. That's what stood out to me about the schedule. I'm not a big looking deep into the schedule here. All right, they got this game here in November. I can see this matchup. I'm like, you don't even know that half the guys are going to be hurt here. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, the one that stood out to me is that
Germany. Flanagan. Germany. They want to play.
They were great in NFL Europe. Frankfurt.
There's a lot of beer. We do not win the Raiders. Hopefully the Raiders aren't in that Super Bowl. Hopefully the Raiders.
They probably would. The thing that stood out to me is the respect the Detroit Lions get opening the NFL season against the Kansas City Chiefs. It'll be a fun game. I think they're going to lose by 25, but the NFL showing some respect to Detroit.
I know they got the opening. Jared Goff, my gosh, what the respect. We're gonna get that shootout again with it. So, anyways, that's the thing. The Titans, Nick, your Titans, they did put out the best media schedule there. They get the most creative. A lot of people love that. So, congratulations on that. And you're what, probably 4-12, 4-12, right? 4-13. Are we giving the Titans
excited for Malik or not Malik? Will Levis.
Levi's. I just call them Levi's. See, I just go with things that are easier to say. That's what they said. They're going Levi's with it. Anything else stand out to you with the schedule release, Tyler? Niners, they got like a lot of primetime games with it. You get the Eagles in week 13. Why did the NFL not make that game earlier when they're healthy? Why do it late?
Now, what I mean, Brock Purdy has to come return to health. I enjoy and they get 10 days off before traveling to Philadelphia. It's a great spot on the Niners schedule to
so you're happy
go to Philadelphia and face the Eagles.
I always crack up how now it's Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets. We get 5 primetime games. Like 5? That's a lot.
The Raiders got 4 somehow. I don't know how the Raiders get.
They want to put that handsome face on TV as much as they possibly can.
Yes, they do. I like, what was it, eating grapes during their NFL release? I mean, my gosh, eating grapes, Jimmy Garoppolo. He was too zoomed in, so you'd see if anybody was feeding it to him. But I'm sure somebody was.
Oh God! Off their with their toes.
Yeah, I don't have to think about that. So that's good here. All right. So like I said, the biggest thing for me is always how many people love the NFL and the schedule release there. So the media, they're always doing things with it. All right, let's keep it moving here. What would it take for you to ever watch hockey on a semi-constant level? That's my question this week. I've been watching a little bit more of the playoffs. Back in the day, you play the video games, you kind of know the players a little bit more. Even like the second line guys, you can recognize them. Now you don't know the guys. I do like how ESPN puts the video game on top of the players' names when they get passed to them. I still can't say half the names, but at least they're there for me to look at. But is there what would it take, Casey, for you to watch hockey on a semi-consistent level? Let's say that's 20 games a year.
There's a couple things I was thinking about. Well, first, Sharks. Yeah. Get them back on board a little bit, see how they can, start performing at a higher level. I mean, get the 4th overall pick this year. But, I mean, I think we're ahead of the game, actually, when we were younger. We used to take away the 2-line pass and a couple of the rules in the video games. And now it's actually, I did watch the Kraken versus the Stars.
Kraken.
And, it's entertaining. I like the rules and the rules changes. It's a lot faster. I mean, overtime's insane. It's so fun to watch when it's just like that. But I would say, just having an interest in the Sharks, but that just getting them back relevant because when they were,
so it's just the Sharks for you mostly.
Well, it's easier to get into it when your home teams are, playing well. I mean, Boston Bruins, I know they set the record and then they got bounced out in the playoffs. There was no interest for me. I don't care about the East Coast teams.
Do you think the NHL
it all comes down to
Carolina Canes versus Florida Panthers, Eastern finals? They don't want that. Tyler, what would it take for you to get into it on a semi-consistent level?
I think one small thing they could do outside of this is go to the Olympic-size hockey rink, give them more space. I think that'd be more fun. I still don't think I'd tune in more. I think it all depends on the Sharks
what would it take?
Getting better. It'd be the Sharks getting better. Because when the Sharks were good or in the playoffs every year, I knew most of the Sharks roster. And my big brother, I'll always talk hockey with when they're interesting, but when they're terrible, I don't even bother bringing it up. So
I honestly think it would take us playing in an adult league for us to watch that many.
There's no chance of me ever ice skating. So
to have an actual perspective on what the game is, I think we'd have to actually play it. I think that's where me and you would watch it more. I don't think the Sharks would maybe help us watch it a little bit more, but unless they didn't get the
as soon as we skated on the ice, they'd be like, "Get out."
The Snoopy Ice Arena here. What are you talking about? We can make it work.
Yeah, they say get out.
They have buckets that you can start out with. You can start out with the bucket. You can move around and then get used to it.
Be like the bunny slopes.
You work up to a stick. Oh man, that's funny. But I think that's what it would take. That's actually playing in an adult league for us to
So
watch.
never is what you're saying. You'll never constantly watch.
They'll never happen. All right, a couple
We
more
could
here.
have Brian Johnson as the goalie. Big
Brian
body.
Johnson's in Phoenix. He went to Phoenix this weekend randomly. Went out for a vacation.
Hopefully, met a lady.
His birthday is next week. And he got on a party bus. I didn't hear from him all night. I got worried. No, we texted him, and he's like, "I'm out there." And we're like, "You got lost." All right, real quick. Do you guys have a problem with the transfer portal in college that now that's been in place for 2 years? Tyler, yes or no?
No, it's different. I don't really, but no, get your money.
It caught my attention because that Michigan guy this week, where he's like, you would change your job for 10,000, basically. Like you'd leave your job for more money. I was like, yeah, I would. But, you know what I mean? So like, there's moments where you'd leave it for a lot more money. So you have no problem with it still? How many players are switching schools or something like that?
I mean, it makes it less interesting for like most. But how am I going to judge someone?
No,
it is the rules. I think if they want to make it more interesting, they get rid of it. But I think a lot of people will just go to the G League and the Ignite that aren't really matter.
Just the Ignite. The Ignite are stacked.
Well, somehow the Ignite get all the guys. I don't know why, but
Case.
I don't care. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, coaches do it all the time, like in the players. Yeah. I mean,
I just find it that I just was curious. I just noticed it happen a lot.
Do you think it'd be more interesting if you kept players in the same spot where you know where you could find them? Like that's where I think it's not good for the game, but it's good for the players, which is fine by me.
I figure if they're good enough, I'm going to find out about them. So if they're not good and they transfer, then they're probably transferring because they're not getting playing time. And I think it's, sometimes that can be a good thing because if you're not getting playing time, certain coaches have vendettas or whatever, you get in their dog out and they like a particular player over the other guy and he's better. They just aren't getting the opportunity. I think you have every right to leave if you want to. You only got, 4 years at it. So,
well, I just find the NIL, that's kind of like the money thing funny. Like I said, his quote here, the people hating on me would leave their job right now for a $10,000 increase at Michigan. I got less than 6 figures a year. So, hey, it's a job. It's kind of different. It's just a lot different than what we grew up with. So I have no issue with it. Just kind of thought it was funny. You guys' perspective on it. All right. Hey, that was our bonanza part of the show there with it. I have a couple. We'll get to. I'll move one to loser of the week. So we'll go from there with it. All right. Hey, let's get to kind of a somber thing here this week. But Vida Blue, who he passed away this week on Monday, and I don't know why this one.
I thought it was Sunday, moments after our show.
Yeah, it was. You're right, Sunday. And I don't know if you guys actually can see it, but he randomly. This is like a piece of like some sort of artwork I got. It actually has Vida Blue on. It's been there from the get go on our wall there, and he always was on like post game shows and all that like locally here. And I never saw him pitch, so I only saw him in like highlights, right? But his name and like his delivery always stood out to me, even though I never saw him once live. And I always was kind of fascinated by him because the fact that he pitched for both teams for so long, like the A's for 9 and then pitched for the Giants for 6 years. I don't know, something about that always stood out to me. So I don't know, I just kind of felt like I needed to give him a little salute here, especially because the A's, they don't get much love in that area anymore with their players. They celebrated their the 1973 championship that couple of weeks ago, and he was there. And he's actually the youngest player. He was at the time the youngest player living on that team, which because I remember Reggie Jackson was joking about a story with that. So that was kind of sad. But I just wanted to point out some of the stats that kind of amazed me looking at pitchers nowadays as well. And Casey, in his MVP year in 1971, where he won the Cy Young and the MVP, he ended up throwing 312 innings, had a 1.82 ERA, 8 shutouts, 301 strikeouts, and an insane 24 complete games. So, I don't know, I always say pitching is the one sport in American history where human beings has gotten worse at throwing longer. It's just I guess we just over time have deteriorated at that skill level, and everything else we've been able to get better at except for that. So, I don't know, Tyler, that just stood out to me. He's a name in the Bay Area that stood out to me. And, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of
I think you mentioned it with him playing for both teams. He kind of bridged the gap. Like both teams, he did post game and pregame for both teams. He was kind of both teams kind of thought of him as their own. He was more of an A as a Giants fan, self-admittedly, that he was more of an A. But the Giants fans took him in as one of theirs and always gave him like recognition. He was at some pregame ceremonies and whatnot. And so he was just beloved by both fan bases, and there aren't too many players that are that way.
Had 209 wins, Case, too. Like I said there. Like I said, the wind-up. That's the one I'm going to remember with him. Anything stand out to you about Vida Blue? The name as well.
Vida Blue, yeah. I mean, every time, we've listened to A's broadcast for a long time. Every time you just hear anyone in the Bay Area speak about him, they have nothing but good things to say about him. Like, more so almost as a person than as a player. It just seemed like he was just an incredible human being. And, to be the type of player that he was and have those stats that you just laid out, man, it's pretty amazing, the fortitude to pitch that many complete games. You got to have a lot of desire to do that.
24 complete
and be
games.
Great at it.
Yeah, that's insane to me. 24. He ended up with 7 years with 250, and he's pitched for more. And like I said, had over 2,000 strikeouts. And like I said, won Cy Young and an MVP. A lot of people forget that he actually is an MVP winner. You know what I mean? So he's on that select list of guys that was able to accomplish that, especially as a starting pitcher. It did happen a little bit more back then, but still, to be able to do that was very impressive. Especially, I think that was his third year in the league, too. It wasn't that far. It wasn't very deep in the league. So he says if it wasn't for drugs and alcohol, he still played a long career. So it wasn't that. He said those things affected him. He thinks he would have been in the Hall of Fame. So you can see his stats there. That's his own quote saying that as well. So just kind of interesting take there. It's at the life of Vida Blue. If you don't know him, I suggest that you look into him as well. Just a great highlights as well there. So that's our shout out to Vida Blue. Felt that was necessary this week. Was on my mind. Too bad I didn't recognize it last week when it happened, but definitely wanted to shout that out to you. All right, guys. With that said, why don't we transition from there to our final segment, our tradition here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, Mother's Day edition here. Tyler, winners and losers of the week. You got a winner?
Yeah, my winners all the Jokic backers for the last 3 years who are having no complaints about his MVP seasons, and then like the people who defended him after Kendrick Perkins is like, oh, this is race and whatnot. And the Jokic, he proved, like, not that he had to prove it. He already proved it previous years, but he just put a stamp on it and made everyone look stupid who'd ever doubted him.
Case, you got a winner this week?
Got to go with the Renegades, XFL champions.
You're so bad.
WWE always makes its way into these.
I know. I told him that to Brian every week. And I was like, every week we got to have a tradition for it. They opened up the Seth Rollins box. Maybe that's winner of the week. They opened it up.
It was crazy, though. Do you guys know anything about it, or no? Not at all.
No, about the XFL.
Yeah. So
I know nothing.
I knew that. I just knew the records of one team was like the team that won was like 4-6, right?
Yeah, the team that won the championship was 4-6 going into the playoffs, and then DC was 10-1. But the Renegade coach, I was like, damn, this guy just wins. Is Bob Stoops, the old Oklahoma coach? and then
Stoops is still hanging around.
And then their quarterback, Luis Perez, I guess he got traded to him like 3 quarters into the season or halfway, but he used to actually be like a semi-pro, like professional bowler, and he's like, his arm hurt, I guess, from doing the motion, so he changed self-taught himself on YouTube to become a quarterback.
That's the ultimate.
That is insane.
That's great. That's a good.
He actually threw, like I said, 17 perfect games, like as a bowler, and I was like, well.
I'm going to change my winner to Richard Perez for learning how to play quarterback with him. From
Luis
Perez. From YouTube videos. I've tried all those YouTube videos for golf. It doesn't work.
I keep shaking them right.
I got just I already mentioned it a little earlier.
Richard Perez.
No, that's right. I mentioned it earlier. Dallas Brady.
Darren said his name was Richard.
Richard. I got winner of the week, Dallas Brady. Like I said, with that, mentioned that Mother's Day thing. That was a great moment. I remember just driving in the car towards Mom's house with that no-hitter was going on. That was awesome there. Kawhi Leonard also happened on Mother's Day. I didn't realize that. The 4 bouncer in the corner, that was a Mother's Day win as well. Raptors, they went on to beat the Warriors there. The rest of the field in the French Open, Nadal's not going to play, so good job.
You got that.
Winner of the week there. Dan Snyder officially sold the Commanders. Terrell, I know you were on the podcast this week. What a great episode you guys were on. A lot of bantering that week is on the show. It was great. He's out as the Commanders owner basically now. So that's the winter week. And then this one hurts, but I don't know how I don't say Lonnie freaking Walker. Lonnie Beepin Walker. That's going to be my nickname for you. So we got Bucky Beepin Dent for the Red Sox fans. You're Lonnie Beepin Walker now for me the rest of
it.
It
was like Kobe took over his body for a quarter. It just, man, he was good that quarter.
Oh my gosh, unreal. So those are my winners of the week with it. Also, a couple of Mother's Day activities I saw that people could do winners activities. I thought it was kind of funny here. It says you could try. Would you do a sculpturing class with your mother on a Mother's Day? Would your mom be into that, Tyler? Sculpturing?
No, she doesn't want to get her hands dirty on Mother's Day. No.
Take a family horseback ride. Is that something that your mother would want to try?
No, she's a little too fragile, I think, at this point in her career as a mother.
A little pony ride.
Maybe where's that play over by?
Haworth Park.
Yeah, Howard Park.
The little pony ride over there. Yeah. Circles over there. He's out of control. He left. No control. Those are my winners of the week. Case, you got a loser of the week here?
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns performance was awful.
Close out performance. That's a good one.
Terrible. And then, I mean, that just the NBA flopping, just the entire league. We're all losing watching it. It's like watching Duke in the 90s, in the late 2000s.
A lot of Fatboy.
Yeah, it's just
Vladdy out there. It's the one where they get hit on the perimeter, they just kind of like on the tree, like a tree. It's like it's just like kind of timber.
If you ever just go on YouTube and watch flopping NBA, man, some of them are just insane. Like if guy tries to take a charge and goes like 10 feet backwards. It's just like
I don't even know how you. It's weird that they practice it. Tyler, you got a loser of the week?
Yeah, I got Clay for his 3-19 performance, 2-12 from 3, and then I have Draymond celebrating with the Lakers afterwards, laughing and having a good time. That shit pisses me off. I hate it. It drives me wild.
Thank you. That's a good one right there. I didn't have that. Thank you for bringing that up. That frustrated me as well after the game. I never said that. I totally forgot to say that. Thank you for bringing that. I'm just not into that type of stuff. Like, I'm not saying you have to go over and like. So remember he had a problem with Sabonis not shaking his hand. I'd rather have you not shake his hand.
Me too.
I'd rather have you do that than hug him. Like, I just feel like that maybe played a little factor in Draymond this year. I'm just saying a little bit. He definitely didn't seem as intense as he was in other series. That's all.
Did you see the Schroeder and Draymond Green Twitter exchange after?
No, whether they
Schroeder was like, "Oh, it was such a great experience playing against you. You're a great player," and Draymond like, "Yeah, they were slurping each other all over Twitter." I was like, get out of here with this garbage. I hate it.
He's got to have it ready for a podcast there with it. All right, so that's loser of the week. I got Colin Coward's trade request. I would do it, but that's just ridiculous. The one where you had the Warriors get Jaylen Brown and Brogdon next year. The Warriors trade Poole and Wiggins. It's like, well, that seems like the Celtics would not do that great. But we'll do that one. Curry, in the last 45 seconds of fourth quarters or overtimes on a potential go-ahead shot, is now 0-12. Not good. That's loser of the week material. You have Clay. I got the other splash brother with that. He misses those 2 deep threes in game 4 there. Bob Huggins, not the smartest comments of all time this week. The beeping Catholics, it's not smart there. Not smart. So he's also in the loser of the week category. So that's what I got there for it. Any last comments here, guys, on a Mother's Day before we call it a show here?
Happy Mother's Day, Pam and Connie. You did great as far as I'm concerned.
Boys, I gotta be remiss before we get out of here.
And Hannah, sorry, Hannah as well.
You gotta give Hannah some love to it. You gotta give Hannah.
Sorry.
I think I'd be remiss too. Like I said, we gave the shout out to mothers. I think with the podcast stuff there, I also wanted to say real quick with loser of the week, Mark Jackson, for not putting Jokic on your top 5 MVP. He did. He went on the radio to show to say that he made a mistake, and that argument you guys had on the Realism Sports podcast about Mark Jackson being the head coach, I got to get on that one next time. When you guys had that discussion, want to shout out some of those shows as well. The one Tyler was on, Realism Sports. the other sports show, they shouted us out this week. We listened to their show. They do a great stuff on fights over there. They were talking Diaz and Paul, and that was kind of a funny conversation they had. Far into the bench, out of your Falcon mind. They just continue to kill it. Let's be real. Through the Hardaway, they had a good show last night. Hoots of Agenda, Doug. He was taunting me yesterday on Twitter, saying it's over. Let it go. It's over. It's dead. Doug, stop stirring it up, man. Stop stirring it up, Doug. I appreciate that. No, I love that.
I'll get Skeeter. I'll go get Skeeter to bully you.
We love the banner there.
Not Skeeter, Roger.
Roger
Klotz.
Here was his friend. No, I appreciate that. DA, got our guy Birds of Bush, Josh. Next on the tee, Chris. He always retweets our stuff. Appreciate him. He had Fred Lynn on his podcast. He's killing it. Adam, and he had a new menu out of Memphis called Hen House. I was like, that's my favorite beer. You got a menu. You got a restaurant named Hen House over there. So shout out to him. They always tune in the podcast. Your brother, Chris, Sacktown, Paging for 3, Gary Smith here. All the comments that make it fun. My mom and Xavier doing the post games. That is over now. So just kind of want to shout out those guys out. It was fun doing that little ride with them, Tyler. You were able to come on too a few times in case. So no more Warriors post games, guys. So it's back to Sundays for us.
Hey, good job, guys, doing those. Those were fun. They were always entertaining, and someone had to do them. And Casey, good job.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I just wish we could have gotten a couple more series, and
it didn't work like last year.
No, it did not. But now I can actually go to bed without stressing the hell out, so, and not wake up pissed off in the morning. So, not
good.
Every day, but even as a grown man, it's like, God, I feel like a little kid when your team loses. Don't matter how old you get. It's just like, sour grapes. The next morning at work, people are not in a good mood. It's just like when they win, it's like, man, today's a great day.
At least you don't have to see the newspaper in the morning like you do. I don't. But
I get up
you see
before
the
newspaper
newspaper
gets
clippings in
delivered.
the morning was always the worst part.
The first Democrat.
I get up before the newspaper's delivered. I avoid it.
All right, so that's our Mother's Day edition there with it. Happy Mother's Day, Tyler, for Casey Briare. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.